say the pregnancy with Sloan was just as healthy and on track as it could be. No difficulties, even upon
Sloan.
you want to go around and
Sloan.
even upon delivery and all
it's all right.
her,
Don't even
all
You're gonna
her.
get some pretty bad video.
mainly if I get the audio, that'll be the.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Developmentally, the first 18 months were pretty much on cue. She did all of her sitting, crawling, and walking were just a little later than some of the textbook stuff said, but just by a few months. It wasn't anything that we rushed to the pediatrician about. All of her immunizations were side effect free. Illnesses were zero. We had no hospitalizations, nothing. So we thought we had just the most perfect experience with a first child. Am I wrong?
No?
I think she had pink eye when she was 6 months old or 6 weeks old. It was very early on. And going to get that prescription was, but then nothing else happened. She nursed. She ate well. I put her in her crib at 6 weeks old. And by 6 months, you could lay her down in her crib awake and she put herself to sleep.
She was a calm and happy baby and is a calm and happy toddler in large measure.
Yeah. So a friend of ours gave us a DVD on signing with your baby because I heard that as a toddler it becomes a little frustrating that they can't speak as early as they'd like to. And so sometimes signing takes the curve off of the frustration for the communication. And I thought, why not? And I also read that it didn't deter the development of verbal communication. So I thought, what's it going to hurt? It'll be something for us to do. So at 9 months, she could sign milk, more, bath, probably about 3 signs she could do. But milk and more were definitely the two that we relied on. Then bath came later.
More milk.
Yeah, exactly. So I was pleased with that, but I kind of thought, the words are going to be coming soon. And they never quite did. But everything else was so smooth, I didn't worry about that. And last summer, which would have made her at about 18 months, she had been put in nursery. I worked part-time when we had her. I cut down on my hours from full-time to stay home and take care of her. And it was mostly to expose her to other children, socialization, she was the only child, and also to kind of dip her in the antibody system.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of get it going. And the one thing that I must say is her caregivers have always reported what an easy child she is to take care of. No behavior problems. Anyone who we hired as a nursery to take care of her would offer after hours to watch her because she was such a pleasant child to take care of. So again, no signs, nothing that we heard of. And so I started to notice that other children her age were starting to babble and talk. And I heard over and over again, she's probably going to be a late talker. And wait till she turns 2. She's going to talk your ear off. Well, before she turned 2, I heard from 2 neighbors about a swim teacher that lived in Alamo Heights. And had a saltwater pool. She was great. You'll love her. So we go. And I knew she was a nurse, and her name is Diana Perry. I knew she was a registered nurse, but I didn't specifically know what type of work she was in. So we went. The first day my father-in-law took her because I had to work. And of course, the first day in a pool with a stranger, there's lots of crying. As expected, she did what most toddlers do.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So the next day when I took her, I think Diana told me that she said, I was hoping to see some other reaction out of her that I didn't see with her father-in-law. But I suspected it to be true because it was her grandfather, and not her mother. And I think a couple of things were that she would say mama or point to me or lean to me while we were in the pool and she was uncomfortable or scared. something that would normally occur with another toddler. And it didn't happen. So Diana started to quiz me while we were in the pool, asking me, does she point? Has she said mama or dada? What's her communication like? And I said, well, no, she doesn't point, and we haven't heard mama or dada. She did do some signing, but we lost a few of those signs, and that clicked into Diana. Well, then Diana started telling me all about these disorders, and I kind of got blown over a little bit with information because I didn't know what kind of nurse she was. Well, turns out she is works for Developmental Grace. I believe she's independent, but she helps to evaluate special needs children with all sorts of disorders, from autism to cerebral palsy and MS and, Asperger's, and you go on and on. I didn't know specifically she worked with children and developmental disorders or delays. And so I was kind of listening to her like, how does she know all of this? And I had just met her, so I was sort of in that first child mommy stage where I was giving my child back, and there's nothing wrong with my baby, she's just not talking. And so we stuck with the swim lessons because Sloan slowly came out of the crying and was improving, obviously, with the swimming. So I didn't feel the need to pull her out, though I was very curious as to why I was being quizzed about Sloan's verbal development or social development. And so as I found out, I went, okay, I get it now, why she's on this. But I didn't really agree with her, and she really strongly suggested that I take her to a neurologist, which was way over. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, here I have this perfect, happy little baby, and you're saying
I need to take her to a neurologist because she's not talking or pointing. And I said, you know what? She's got a pediatrician visit coming up in the next month for her vaccinations. I'll bring it up. I'll go ahead and make the appointment because she told me it took a long time to get in. And my goodness, it did. It took 3 months to get in with Dr. Tomasovic. And so I left the appointment where it was. Went to go see her pediatrician, who had really not shown any concern about much at all. Okay, she's not talking, but everything else is okay. Let's just keep her coming here and let's get her checked routinely like we're supposed to. Okay, so we go back, and she was fine still on the growth charts. Nothing of concern. She was in the average usually. She was never above or below, but just right on. And I mentioned to him what was said to me about her delays and how I had gone ahead and made an appointment with Dr. Tomasovic, but I also wanted sort of his blessing because I had hired him to be the pediatrician, whereas this was her swim teacher. And he said, I really do appreciate you asking me first, and I would I really don't think that it's necessary at this time. So word said, I canceled the appointment, and when I told Diana, I could tell she was a bit like, oh, we were right there, and
how are you, what was your,
I didn't know.
Was this on your mind all the time at this point?
Yeah, because it's
by
here
this time
she is
you were
telling me, and yet they're telling me, and I'm just trying to do what's best for Sloan. And when you have a completely, it might have been a little different. Covita she had medical problems or diet issues, or was just an unhappy child, and I was trying to figure out what's wrong. But everything was so smooth that I didn't know what to do with that information. And so, being that I knew the pediatrician longer than I knew the swim teacher, I put my trust where I've had my experience with.